Welcome back to Old War Stories with Uncle Jay. This one is entitled When Mother Says No, Ask Grandma. This one strikes a chord right now in my life because of something that's going on, and we're going to get to that much later in the video. Right now it's October, unfortunately, and it's getting cold. Haven't put the heat on in the house, but I got my tea time on over here. There's links in the prescription on that. But anyway, let's get into the story. I have mentioned this phrase before, and when I was a kid, there was a little figurine around the house. It's probably still there. One day I'll get it. I don't know where it is. It had two sort of humanoid-looking creatures on there. And it had a caption at the bottom that said, "When Mother Says No, Ask Grandma." And one was sort of an older looking figure, and the other one was a small child holding Grandma's hand. What it means, of course, is, you're a little kid, you go to Mommy, "Mommy, can I have candy?" "No." Then you go to Grandma and you say, "Grandma, can I have candy?" "Of course you can have candy." That's the whole thing. And that's where this all ties in. Now, this dates back to when I started in sales at Tiny Middle. This would bring us 2001, end of 2001, early 2002, somewhere in there, I think. There I was on the sales floor, and as time went on, things progressed in the computer field. Now, Windows XP was king. That's really neither here nor there at this point, but we were starting to get more and more people. Remember, 2002, more and more and more people were not only on the internet with high-speed connections, but also were wanting to split that out to multiple computers so they can share their cable modem. You did that with a router, and in the early days it was wired. There was no wireless. There was, but it's not anything you wanted to get into. And then this started, and we did wireless, and people did not have large expectations of how well their wireless was going to work. Back in the day, it was 802.11b, which did 11 megabits per second theoretical maximum. Wasn't a problem at the time because cable modems were pulling 1, 2, 4, maybe 5 megabits per second, maybe even 6, depending on the service you had. That all changed as time went on, of course. As time went on, the wireless protocols changed, and we came out with 802.11g, 54 megabits per second theoretical maximum. And in the early days, I would shy people away from that because for right then, to keep costs down, which was always a main factor, you wanted the cheapest stuff. And wireless B and wireless G would have approximately the same range because they were on the same bandwidth, 2.4 gigahertz, which is still around today. But time progressed, and now we're getting more and more and more things. We're getting into the 2006 and 7 years now. Multiple laptops per household, multiple computers per household, stuff like that. And you wanted all of them to connect. So I was not the quote-unquote resident network guy, but I certainly knew my stuff, as you might expect. I would get a lot of people coming in, and they would say, hey, that wireless, yeah, you got a booster? A booster? Why, what's going on? Oh, my neighbor has it. I want to pick up his signal. Sir, that's illegal. can't actually assist you with that. Well, yeah, they told me that I just need a booster. All right, you're going to have to talk to your neighbor about this. And some of these people were like, no, the signal's there, I can use it. But others were like, oh, really? I didn't know. I said, yeah, they might even have a password. If they're willing to give you the password and you're really on good terms in that, I mean, you can do this, but your connectivity is not going to be great the next house over. But again, it progressed, and the internet progressed, and we're streaming things, starting to stream things on the internet, and you're downloading large files, and websites became exponentially more complicated. You needed the bandwidth. And what happens is, like I was saying with like wireless G, for example, 54 megabits per second maximum theoretical throughput. You don't get those numbers. You get less. Like mile per gallon rating in your car. 24 city, 28 highway, you get 18, and that's as good as it gets. So, kind of the same story. The numbers are theoretical maximums that you're never going to see in real life. But you get people who would come in, I need a booster, I need an antenna. Do you have a better wireless car? I want it better. Alright, where is your router? Oh, the cable modem? Well, the router, but it's probably next to your cable modem, so okay. Oh, it's in the basement. I said, that's not actually the optimal place for it. That's where they go. That's where you put them. I get that, and you know where I have mine? It's in the basement right here on the other side of the wall. It's not a good place for it. The wireless signal transmits out and down. Think of an umbrella, and it kind of does that. So the best location for your router is all the way upstairs on the top floor, so it can radiate out and down and cover your house. Where is your cable modem in the basement? Oh, it's in a dark, damp corner. That's the best place. Right, exactly. Okay. So I need a booster. Come on, sell me a booster. It's not going to do what you need, sir. Because if your modem is down here at this corner of the house, and you got a laptop all the way upstairs at this corner, as the crow flies, that's the longest distance. And a booster is not going to do the trick for you. Why don't I want it? They're looking for a magic pill. Some little thing they could just plug in and it boosts their Wi-Fi. And you're seeing a lot of these devices out there. Do they work? Yes. But there are many drawbacks. What are you talking about? You're going to have increased latency. Because what happens is the booster is going to pick up your already weak wireless signal, get that data in, and now rebroadcast it. There is latency or time involved in processing that is going to make that connection to that laptop way up there a lot slower than if you were sitting right on top of the router, for example. Well, how do I do this? What you need, sir, is an access point. What's that? This is a device that you're going to place somewhere in the middle of the house, but you're going to run a wire to it from your modem. You know those ports on the back, the 4 ports on the back? You got to plug a wire, an Ethernet wire, and run that to it. I can't run wires. You told me earlier that you're a contractor, sir. I can't run wires. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be connected. There's no way to get there from here. There's a way, you just have to look for it. This is fucking ridiculous. And storms off with his Italian attitude. And then he goes to the networking corner and he sees Guy. Guy was Guy, but it was pronounced Guy because he was French. And he'd say, I need a booster. Oh yeah, you need a booster? Yeah, we got this one. We got this one right here. Yeah, just plug it in and it'll work. Oh, that's it, huh? That's all I need? Yeah, just plug it in, follow the instructions in there, you'll be set up in no time. All right. Oh, $79.99. And he goes to the register and he buys his booster. Some people went home and they were satisfied with it. But I know way better. And a booster is not the way to do things. There is a time and a place for them. Sometimes running wires is not impossible, but certainly not cost effective. If you have a detached garage on your house, the signal is going to be weak by the time it gets to the garage. And putting a booster in there would be good, because you're certainly not going to string an Ethernet wire across your backyard. And as far as digging a trench in the ground, I know people who have done this because they know how to do things the right way, but it's just not really cost effective and or feasible. So there's a time and a place for that. And you're going to have to live with the increased latency and the slower speeds that it's going to afford you, because that's the best you can do. Truth be told, I have a booster on my network for the IoT devices in here, such as Tea Time, a Wi-Fi outlet, and the tons of other Wi-Fi controlled devices that are in this house. I have one on the ice machines so they don't get a power surge, on the garbage disposal so I can ask for it to be turned on and off, for the fence lights outside on the back fence, the patio lights I have in the screen room. There's a light off to the side you can't see that's IoT connected, and that's on a timer. The lamps on the table behind me, had a video on that a long time ago. That is also IoT controlled. I can just ask for it to be turned on, and it's a great thing. But the problem is the router is down here, and the stuff I want to control, especially important, such as up in the bedroom where the lights and another set of lights and yet a third light are all controlled by IoT, a booster was necessary. So the router is in the dark, damp corner of the basement. It's not dark and damp there, but it's in a corner. And it is mounted high up on the wall, but it's just not enough. Now, I put the booster in the kitchen, which is centrally located in the house. So that's a great place for it. But it's a little dinky China piece of crap that China sent me. And yes, it does have an Ethernet port, and I do have an Ethernet run that was actually going to be for something else, which I don't think I'll ever do, that could be plugged into it. But the latency that's going to be involved and the slowness of this network are not really an issue, because we're transmitting such small amounts of data. We're sending a command to a device that is connected, telling it turn on or turn off. That's it. A few kilobytes of data, if that much, maybe only a few bytes of data. I don't know how any of that works, just that it does. It works fine for that. It's almost 100%, but there are still some gray areas, and I blame that really on the device. And I do have planned maybe for next summer to possibly upgrade that further from another China device that I have that might work. But then the guy who needed the booster would oftentimes come back and he'd say, the guy over there sold me a booster and it didn't work. I need one that's good. Sir, we talked about this last time, and I explained that really the best way is for you to get an access point and wire that back to your router. I can't run wires. I would at that point ask customers, I would say, sir, ma'am, how much don't you want this to work? And of course they'd look at me really funny because that's a really odd question to pose. The bottom line was, they came to me first and they said, I need a booster, because they heard of it, or somebody told them about it, or somebody they work with, or a friend, a relative, anybody they know might have told them about it. And they have their shitty network with a booster, and it's horrible. It works, but it's slow and it has a lot of latency. And that's not the way to do it. So I'd explain that the access point is the best way. And of course, you get frustrated, go in the back corner, find one for $159 that did nothing more than the $79 one did, and still was spinning his wheels in the mud. And very rarely would they come back to me and say, all right, I need an access point. How do I do this? I said, you plug one end in your router, you plug the other end in the access point, and for all intents and purposes, if you do nothing else, it'll work. There's setup involved that you want to do. You probably want to put a password on that. You, of course, have to run the wire. I can't do that for you because I'm not physically there. But you're going to have to figure that part out. And even more rarely would they get all that stuff and do it the right way and come back and tell me, holy shit, I should have listened to you in the beginning. You were right all along. That wireless works great. My daughter's laptop goes on there and she can watch cute cat videos and post on Fuckbook and Twitter and Snapchat and Instafuck and all the other shit they have today that is wasting your goddamn time. A diversion, of course, from her studies, where she could actually learn shit and become successful instead of your typical millennial these days. I digress. Not really. It's true. The long and short of the story was, when mother says no, ask grandma. You went to mother first because she's your mother. And you said, Mom, can I have candy? And Mom doesn't want to give you candy because it's not good for you, so she says no. But Grandma, you are her precious little snookums, or whatever she calls you, and you can have all the candy you want because she loves you so unconditionally. She is so happy that her child had children and have brought them into this world, and she's still alive to see it. And that's a great thing in the cycle of life. But again, the moral of the story is, if you don't like the answer, you go to somebody else. Was Mom wrong to tell you no? Absolutely not. But you're not going to sit there and eat carrot sticks all day and be satisfied. Sometimes you want a fucking candy bar, and that's the end of the story. And there's a time and a place for it. Sometimes you want a piece of cake, and having it before dinner is not a good idea. You learn that probably the hard way in your life. As kids, this is how it goes. This is what we do. It's okay. You live and you learn, and that's that. So the guy came to me and said, I need a booster. And I said, I don't want to sell it to you. It's not going to work right. And he was dissatisfied with that answer. So he went to Grandma, otherwise known as Guy in this case, and told him, yes, here it is. You're all set. And it's that easy. But of course, it didn't work. Childhood obesity? Anyone? Or onset of early diabetes or any of that? Yeah, you gotta watch that stuff. So, Grandma didn't do that to hurt you, of course. She just had to give you that, especially because Mom said no. But Mom knew best. Sometimes Grandma knows best, but there was a show called Father Knows Best. I don't think anybody actually knows, but anyway, we're going to get into what kind of prompted this old war story right now. Somebody who I know, it's a friend of a friend kind of type sort of deal. Not anybody I'm close with, but anyway, like in the show Dragnet, the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Well, I'm going to do that even though he's guilty here. So his name is Eric, but we're going to call him Bruce.